Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. I'm Zach. This is my brother Jake, and we're going to be breaking down the divisional round of the NFL playoffs this week. So, what do we got started for us this week, Jake?
Yep. So first game is the Texans and the Ravens. Texans obviously had a great performance in their first round of playoffs, put up a spanking, and then you got the Ravens who had a bye. But I mean, Lamar is going to come out ready to play. I expect this to be a tough game. CJ Stroud's been pretty phenomenal this season. 10 wins, now has a playoff win under his belt already in his first season. I expect this guy to be the limit for them, but the Ravens are the better team right now, so I expect them to win this game. Right now, they're 7.5-point favorites. Don't know if I like that number, but I'm definitely going to sprinkle a little bit on the money line.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take the money line. It's not a shock that I've had the Ravens all year. I think they'll get there. I don't think it's going to be much of a competition. It could be, depending on how slow the Ravens start. I do find that to be an issue. I'm maybe leaning on taking like a Texans first half spread or even first quarter money line, just because the Ravens coming off of not only a bye, but the last week of the year, the starters didn't play. The starters have not played in 3 weeks. And so that could ultimately play a factor in how they start the game. But I do think their defense is too much it's too much for the Texans. The Texans don't run the ball, and even if they did, the Ravens should be able to stop it. And then slinging it, obviously CJ's been phenomenal, and I want to keep rooting for him. But not Nico Collins, Noah Brown got hurt last week. He's done for the year. Tank Dell obviously got hurt earlier in the season. He's done for the year. So they're down to Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, and they need everything they can get against this stacked Ravens team. Their defense is coming to play. If their defense can get a couple takeaways, put them in good field position, maybe special teams, they might be able to keep it close. But I do think ultimately Ravens cover 7.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think, the Ravens are just the better team. Obviously, right now, the Texans are going to be dwindled down to only having so many options to spread the ball out. So it'll be interesting to see how much they commit to the run, because I think that's going to dictate the pace of this game pretty quickly in the first quarter. And then the Packers and the Niners. I expect the Niners to do what I thought the Cowboys were going to do, which was play good, sound defensive football and then win the game on the ground at the line of scrimmage. Cowboys clearly weren't able to do that, and I mean they did better in the second half, but by then it was already over. There was a 30-point deficit, so I expect the Niners to, on the flip side of that, hold them to little to nothing in terms of the scoreboard. I expect this to be a super rough game for Jordan Love. I'm definitely taking him to throw a pick in this one, or maybe a fumble, one or the other, some sort of turnover. But yeah, I like the Niners. I don't like the 8.5. I think I might buy it down to 6.5 just because it's a playoff game. So you don't know how well the Packers defense is going to play, especially after this last week. But with the Cowboys having a good second half, I think the Niners are going to have the recipe to go in and get the win.
Yeah, I don't think this game is going to be close at all. I talked about how I didn't think that the Packers were going to have an issue scoring on the Cowboys defense because the Cowboys defense were frauds. The Niners are the real deal, and they're coming to play, and they're going to protect the middle of the field, and they're going to beat them up front at the line of scrimmage. I talked about the Cowboys don't have a rush defense, and Aaron Jones got whatever he wanted. And then the Cowboys, for whatever reason, played zone most of the game.
The entire
whole game, which they didn't do all year, so that was kind of interesting. I do think that there might be a couple big shots to Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs, especially Watson, though, with his speed. Because the Niners' weak spot of their defense is the corner safety play. But they shouldn't be able to run it effectively. The linebackers are studs and should be all over the field. So I could see the Packers getting maybe 14-17. I do think they'll stay under 20, so I'm probably going to take that prop as Packers under 20. I think the Niners should be able to put up 30+, so I think they cover the spread. I could easily see them winning this game by 20. I would say 30, but it's just hyperbole. But they could theoretically win by 30. I'm going to take the minus 8.5, I think is what you said.
Yep.
Yeah, the Niners are great.
Yeah.
Plain
and they play consistent. They're the most consistent team for sure. And that's the thing is, like, you have the teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles that are going to come in and they're going to have these inconsistencies show up against some of the better teams that have been playing better towards the second half of the season. So this Niners team has
Yeah.
been playing really good ball the last 4 weeks. Their defense has proven over and over that nobody can run the ball against them. And every time they go to run the ball on offense, they've got a front five that's ready to block for Christian McCaffrey and a fullback and tight ends that are meant to block. So, I think this Niners team is just set up to really push far into the playoffs, if not make it to the Super Bowl against the Ravens. And this is just going to be a next step. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to
Also,
sprinkle.
though,
Yeah.
I was just going to say what the Packers did that threw the Cowboys off to start the game was one, they scored, so then they had to play from behind, but then they brought the intensity. They were going to
Mm-hmm.
take a penalty and make you earn something rather than just letting it be easy. And in that sense, the Niners will dominate them. The Niners linebackers are the two most intense, dominant linebackers in the league, other than possibly Roquan Smith. Zaire Franklin's obviously a beast, but that's how the Niners play. That's how they always play. That's where the Niners beat the Cowboys the last 2 years. They started off, they hit him in the face, and they just kept hitting him, and they're going to make you earn it. And although the Packers were able to do that to the Cowboys play soft. The Niners don't play soft, so I don't see that being an issue for them. And I do think the Niners will run through them.
Yeah, this is going to be a similar thing to what happened with DK. Like, Fred Warner is going to bring some juice. Somebody's going to bring some juice, and this Niners team is going to be ready to play. So, yeah, I'm on it. I think I'm going to buy it down to 6.5 and take it. I'm going to touch the money line as well and take it. And then for a little bit of sprinkle, just for a little something special, I'm also going to buy it up to 13.5, up 5 points. I don't know exactly where that number is going to be at, but I'm probably thinking like plus 350, maybe plus 400. If I can get that value anywhere, I mean, this could easily be a blowout, like you said, especially with the Niners being at home. Um, January game, Packers, I just don't think are going to have much answers on the offensive side of the ball. So, yep, like the Niners in that one. The next one is the Buccaneers and the Lions, two teams that obviously I was not expecting it to make it this far. I thought the Rams and the Eagles were both going to somehow find a way to win late, but the Lions and the Bucks showed that they've got the defensive mentality to be able to win them some games in the postseason. The Lions are at home again. I think that this is kind of where the Buccaneers road runs out. The Lions have just been that good this season. I think that they're going to be better at running the ball in this game, even though Rashad White was incredible in that Eagles game for the Buccaneers. I expect him to slow down. I expect the duo between Montgomery and Gibbs to be a little bit too much for the Buccaneers, and then that'll open the field up for Jared Goff, and then that'll lead them to a win. So yeah, I'm leaning on the Lions in this one. I don't like the 6.5 line again. Like I feel like these lines are a little bit too heavy. I don't know why they're so high, but I'm probably gonna buy it down to maybe like 4.5 or 3.5, and then take it there.
Yeah, all of these lines, I would say you can definitely wait for the game to start because if the team that's favored goes and scores, the line's not going to move much. But if the other team starts with the ball, they go score, the line's going to move, and you can get a better value for the same pick. So this is definitely
Yeah,
a
I
live
agree.
bet kind of week with bigger lines. The Lions already beat Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay 20-6 earlier in the year. Um, Tampa Bay was hot at the time, and then they got stymied. They couldn't run the football worth a crap. Baker threw a pick. I think that's going to happen again. I think Baker's going to throw a pick. Rashad White will kind of stumble. Mike Evans didn't do much, and neither did Godwin in this last game. So I do expect to see maybe Mike Evans get going a little bit. I don't think Godwin's going to do too much. But in that last game, the Buccaneers also stopped the run, but I believe Gibbs was out. So having him will be a little 1-2 punch, especially having the threat of him catching it out of the backfield is going to help their offense. But Jared Goff threw it for 350 on this Bucks team earlier in the season. It was a low scoring 20-6 game. I do think it'll probably be another low scoring game. I think the Bucks put up maybe 17. I really could see 13 being like legit because they kick a lot of field goals. And the Lions, I think, might put up 27. So I could see a 27-16, 27-13. But I do think the Lions win. I'm going to take them on the money line. Don't love that 6.5, but if I had a gun to my head, I would choose 6.5 for the Lions. They
Yeah, the
covered it on
line's
the
at
road.
48.5 right now, so that's pretty high.
Yeah, I would take the under on that. That's one of my favorite plays for this game. Baker Mayfield to throw anytime pick. I also like that. I do think Goff throws a pick probably this game as well. I love Antoine Winfield. and just the corners and the Bucks. A lot of people are going to need to get paid this year, but I do think the Lions win at home and
Yeah,
advance to the championship.
yeah, right on. I think there's just no going against the Lions right now. For me, what I saw in the Buccaneers in this first playoff game was a little bit of a one-off. They were doing extremely well on third down, which is not something that they were really that strong at throughout the season. So I really don't expect them to be able to replicate the third down success that they had against the Eagles. Now, granted, the Eagles secondary was banged up and obviously had some key flaws that lost in that game. But I just don't expect this Lions team to have those same flaws. I think that they're going to be more prepared. They're at home. I think they just got the juices flowing, and this team's ready to win. So yeah, I like the Lions to advance for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last game is the Chiefs and the Bills. Man, probably game of the week for sure. This game is just always a banger. I mean, I think they played twice this year, or maybe just once this year.
Just once.
But this will be the second time, and it's going to be an absolute banger. We look forward to this game every single year in the playoffs after the regular season game because you know it's coming again. And personally, I don't like the line at 3 for Buffalo. It's going to be cold, but the Chiefs also play in the cold. Patrick Mahomes loves to play in the cold. He just threw the ball, all over the place in the cold. I think Kelsey had 8 receptions or something like that, which is pretty crazy. I've also saw something recently that had Belichick and Brady talking about when they were playing in their negative degree game and how it's actually easier for the quarterbacks to throw it in the cold because the offensive linemen have no traction to get to the quarterback, or the D linemen have no traction to get to the quarterback, so it makes it easier to block. So I find that super interesting, and if that's going to be the case, I'm going to expect Patrick Mahomes to go out there and ball. I expect Josh Allen to throw a couple picks and make a few mistakes, and I think for that reason, I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of that. If you're telling me one team that's going to be throwing the ball is going to win, it's definitely not going to be Mahomes with what we've seen all year. It's going to be Josh Allen throwing it to Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, and Gabe Davis. Obviously, we saw what Shakir could do with a huge touchdown to push that lead back up to 14 against the Steelers last week. Um, I went with obviously the Dolphins last week because I wanted them to win, and I said I think the Chiefs would get knocked out early. One of those teams I did say that would beat them is the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills at home. Uh, they've had 4 or 5, I think, matchups now in the AFC divisional round or championship. In the last 5 or 6 years, they've had at least 4. This is a perfect matchup. Uh, I am very interested in the game because the Chiefs could have / should have won the game against Buffalo earlier in the year, but it
Yep.
was when Kadarius Toney lined up offsides.
Yep.
Don't be an idiot this time. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as close of a game. I think the Bills cover the 3 at home, and I think it's finally Buffalo's chance to go to the NFC Championship game, sending Pat packing early, and then with that, I think the Chiefs are going to have to make some decisions this offseason about what to do, keeping Chris Jones, a couple of their corners. Snead, I think needs to get paid, but they have no salary cap. So if they're not paying these guys, they also still need a receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if they go after the likes of Michael Pittman or T. Higgins or Mike Evans or who knows, because they definitely need a receiver. And I don't know if they want to just draft another and trust Reishi to get that much better next year.
True.
Um, should be the game of the week. I'm excited for this game. Ravens could potentially be a good one if they start slow. I don't think the Niners can be that close, and the Lions Bucks could be good, but again, I think the Lions are probably going to beat up on them and keep it low scoring. I do think this game is probably going to go over. I'm not even sure what the line is at for this one.
It's 45 and
Um,
a half, which is
yeah, I
pretty
think it'll go
high.
over 45 and a half.
Yeah, I'm
When
a
I
little
look at these
skeptical.
teams, I see 31-34 shootout year after year after year. And I do see turnovers, and the turnovers, in my mind, in this game lead to more scoring, not less. So if I think Pat will probably throw a pick, potentially have a fumble if he gets sacked quite a few times. Josh Allen's always good for a turnover or two when it matters most. So I could easily see 4 turnovers combined between the two teams, putting the other teams in good field position, and then being able to capitalize in the red zone. These are 2 experienced teams. Obviously, the Chiefs haven't been to 3 Super Bowls in the recent years, and Bills are just trying to finally get past their nemesis. But I think this is the year that they finally do it.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely already been through their road bumps for sure this season with how ugly it started. So yeah, I mean with how well they've played in the second half, I could see it happening, but I just don't like it at 3. I feel like the Chiefs are just the better team. I think defensively, overall, the Chiefs have the Bills' number. I just don't think Josh Allen performs well against the Chiefs, so I think that's going to be my biggest key going into this game is how well is Josh Allen going to be able to perform against this defense, because this Chiefs defense has really turned it on, and they've shown that they can win games without having a top 5 offense. So I'm really intrigued by this game, and I think it's just going to take a couple mistakes for the Chiefs to be able to capitalize. So yeah, should be a fun one. I'm going to take the money line. I don't know what that number's at. It's probably like plus 150. So probably not too crazy yet. I might look towards live, like you said. These games are going to be a lot better towards the kickoff, so I think that the lines will be a lot better then. But yeah, those are the 4 games. 4 predictions right there: Ravens, Niners, Lions, Bills, Chiefs. They're all right there. A lot of teams that we had at the beginning of the season. So hopefully they can kind of keep this momentum rolling. And if we see a Ravens 49ers Super Bowl, man, you're going to be up a bit of coin as far as I know. So how about that?
Or 1 week at a time. 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
But yeah, and then UFC. So sorry guys, I went 1-2 on the podcast last week. I ended up doing 9 total picks, and I went 6-2-1. One fight didn't end up happening, so I sincerely apologize that the 3 picks I gave out just happened to be the 2 of the 3 losers that I ended up having on the weekend. But we'll get back to that sometime soon for UFC, but not on this podcast. So keep your guys' ears open on the Letting It Locks channel for Zach's NBA plays and maybe some additional NHL plays, college basketball plays. I know he's always got some stuff going on over there, so keep your eyes on that. And yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Yep, sounds good. See ya.